السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه هداه أما بعد. Inshallah, we are starting with Maxims of Fiqh, and we will take the maxims that are derived from the third grand maxim. Difficulty brings ease. We talked about the meaning of this maxim, right? Last week, we talked about the maxim, we explained it, we mentioned the evidence. So tonight, inshallah, we are going to discuss the maxims that go under this maxim. So far, if you remember, we have matters are judged by their intention. That's the first one. The second one, certainty is not to be removed by doubt. And this is the third one, difficulty brings ease. So, the first maxim, when the matter is tightened, straightened, it becomes easy. إذا ضاق الأمر اتسع. That's what we say in Arabic. When the matter is tightened, it becomes what? Easy. What do we mean by that? If a difficulty appears in a matter, then there will be a concession and forgiving until the matter returns to its norm. This shows the flexibility of the religion, the perfection of the religion, that you are commanded to do your best. You cannot, you're forgiven. You are forgiven. إذا ضاق الأمر اتسع. Example or evidence for that, what Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in Surah An-Nisa. In those three ayat, Allah Azza wa Jal told us about the prayer of fear. When do we pray the prayer of fear? In the war. You still have to pray, but do you have to pray the same way that you pray? No. Why? Because if you pray the same way, what happens to you? You could get killed. So Islam tells you no. Because the matter became difficult, you are at war, you are allowed to change the way you are praying. You are sick, you don't have to do the same thing, but you still get the reward. So a lot of evidences in the religion, and that is only one evidence. The examples for this maxim. You are in the desert, and you are about to die. There is nothing to eat. And a pig passes by. Do you say it's haram, so let's die? Or the religion tells you, you eat from that? You eat. In normal cases, is this allowed? No. So that's an example. Permitting eating the carrion. Not only the pig, but any dead animal. Nowadays, in our time, in Syria, in other places where there is famine, there is hunger, people are eating dead animals. And this is not the first time, it happened before in the Muslim Ummah. One of the great scholars, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, he was passing by a village on his way for Hajj. So he saw a girl picking a dead crow. Would you like to eat crow? Even if it was fresh, you wouldn't eat it. How if it was dead? So he was surprised. He followed her until she entered the house. So he knocked on the door. The mother came out and he asked her, "What's your problem?" She said, "That's the food for us for 3 days. 3 days they have been going to the trash to take whatever is there. They don't have any food." So he left his trip for Hajj, he gave them the money and he went back. because that was more important. So that's just an example. Islam allowed you to eat the dead carrion. Why? Because the matter is difficult. That is why. Here is another example, and in our time this is very clear. In general, when people learn the religion, this is something that you have to do. You have to learn. Are you allowed to take money for that? When you go to the masjid, do you have to pray or no? The Muslim has to pray or no? So you take money on something you have to do. The imam in the masjid, is he paid or not paid? He's paid. Why? In general, he shouldn't be paid. Why is he paid? For living. So we divide the prayers, for every prayer, for every rak'ah, that's how much you take. The payment is not in exchange of the prayer itself. Again, we have to pray. We are Muslims. But to dedicate someone to that job, from where he will get his living. If we say the prayer is mandatory and we don't pay anyone, there will be nobody able to dedicate the time. So for that, scholars said that it is permissible, even though in general there shouldn't be payment for Islamic knowledge, for imama, for religious education. Here, did you pay any money? You did. Ask for refund. It's too late now. In general, there shouldn't be payment. Why? This is something you have to learn. This is part of your religion. But because of the change of the situation, because of the difficulty, you cannot find someone that has all the time available in the world. And he has enough money that he doesn't need to make a living. And if you found someone, other places you will not find. So you will not be able to cover the need of people. Because of that, it is permissible. Another example. Not only the traveling woman, but in our time, this is common. When a woman is accepting Islam, who becomes her wali? Who becomes her wali? She accepted Islam in a country where there is no Islamic state. It's non-Muslim country. There is a small community of Muslims only, and she wants to get married. And in Islam we say a woman cannot marry without wali. Who will be her wali? She is allowed to assign someone to become her wali. In general, that's not allowed. You don't pick your wali. Every girl says, my father, I don't want him to be my wali. I want this. You are not allowed. But in this case, she is allowed. Why? Because of the difficulty. When the matter becomes difficult, it becomes easy. What does it mean it becomes easy? Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned that in the Quran. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. What does it mean? That's what it means. When there is difficulty, there will be ease. So that is the maxim. Is it clear? This is the first one. The second one, necessity permits prohibition. Or necessities permit prohibition. الضرورات تبيح المحظورات. Necessities permit prohibitions. What does that mean? Or we said the general maxim is what? The one that this one is underneath. Difficulty brings ease. This one, necessity permits prohibition. What's the difference between them? Or what is the relationship? Difficulty brings ease, necessities permit prohibition. Are they the same? Not the same? Is every difficulty necessity? Is every difficulty necessity? You can stand, but you have a back pain. Can you or can't you stand? You can. But with what? With difficulty. Is this the same that when you are about to die? No. So difficulty, that's very general. Necessity, that's one case of difficulty, the highest case. This is like a matter of life and death. Not every difficulty is necessity, but every necessity is what? Difficulty. So when we talk about difficulties, this comes at the top. So this is like a specification of what kind of difficulty? Necessity. Necessities permit prohibition. And when we talk, as I told you, about a matter of life and death, give me an example of matter or of life and death. When you are about to die, but because the matter is a matter of necessity, it was allowed. Hunger. In Arabic, darura. That's the meaning of necessity, darura. And in Quran, it was mentioned when it came to food. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ. That's the word. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ. In Surah Al-Baqarah, in Surah Al-An'am. You are in a famine, you don't have anything to eat except what is prohibited. So what happens to what is prohibited? It becomes permissible. Necessities permit prohibitions. Okay, so the meaning is what? What is prohibited in the religion becomes permissible in a case or in a time of necessity, which is dire need. It's not any need, it is a dire. It is a matter of life and death. Now, this becomes what? When we say you are allowed to eat from this dead animal. When we say you are allowed, what do we call this? In general, it is prohibited, but now you are allowed to eat from it. This is what? Concession. Now, the question is, do necessities permit all prohibitions? All? No? Give me an example of a necessity that would not change the ruling. We just said that the maxim is what? Necessities do what? Permit prohibitions. Example, this is the first one. Change of the ruling as long as the necessity is present. Like what? Tayammum. That's an example. Tayammum. Now, we want to pray upstairs. But upstairs the water is not working. So I don't want to go up and down. I have a box of sand, so I will do the tayammum with it. Am I allowed to do that? Why not? It's more convenient. I have the box with me wherever I go. No. When you are allowed to use tayammum, there is no water. What is the ruling? You are allowed to use tayammum as long as the necessity is present, whether there is no water or there is water but you cannot use it. The man who asked, can I do tayammum? And they told him no. And he took a bath. What happened to him? He died. So as long as you are injured, as long as you are sick, and the necessity is present, are you allowed? Yes, that's one example. The example is what? Tayammum. Another example, the ruling is still prohibition, but under coercion, under compulsion, it became what? Permissible. Like what? Is it ever allowed to disbelieve in Allah Azza wa Jal? Is kufr ever permissible? No. But your action is allowed. When? Under coercion. And that's what Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in Surah Al-Nahl. So in this case, does that mean kufr becomes halal? it would never be halal to disbelieve in Allah. But you are allowed to say the word of kufr, to save yourself from killing, from death. So it is still prohibited, but you are allowed to do it under coercion. The third concession, or it's not actually a concession, when it is prohibited. Even under necessity, yes, even under necessity, it doesn't change the ruling. What is the example? Can you think of an example where even under dire need, even if it is a matter of life or death, still you're not allowed to do it. It's still prohibited. Is there anything greater than kufr? So if kufr was permitted for you due to necessity, why would something not be allowed? Are there cases? Yes. There are cases. If a man threatened you with a gun, either you kill him or you will be killed. Is that a necessity or no? Is it a matter of life or death or no? Are you allowed to kill? No. The ruling is still the same. You could get killed, yes, still. Your life is not more valuable than his or her life. So that's a necessity, true, but it doesn't change the ruling. So based on this level, the third one, when we say necessities permit prohibitions, absolutely, always? No. So this one is what? Like an exception. Necessities permit prohibitions in general. Almost, most necessities are permitted, but not all. There are certain cases where it is still not allowed.
So it's not a concession.
Here it doesn't become a concession, where it is still prohibited. In our time, a lot of discussion has been going on regarding the woman who is raped. Young girl is raped, like what happened in Bosnia, in Syria, and in other places. Now this girl, who's 14, 15 years old, when she is 20, and she wants to get married, and people know she is raped, what are the chances of getting married? And how life will be for her? She is scarred forever. So what's the ruling on having a surgery to restore virginity, for instance? Why? She doesn't want to tell people. That's an issue that has been discussed. Is that allowed based on necessity? Even there, some scholars said no. Others said yes. That is a case of necessity. The same case, she was pregnant. Is she allowed to have an abortion? So if you say no, still that's an exception. Even under necessity, the ruling does not change. So not every necessity permit prohibition. Most necessities, yes, but not all. Is this clear? Very good. Committing suicide in general, is that allowed? No. What if, like in Palestine, you have no other option? Still, some scholars said it's not allowed. It's never allowed. Others said no, in that case it is allowed. When we say it is not allowed, that becomes an exception. Necessities permit prohibitions, not always.
But you're not allowed to commit suicide forever.
In the case of Palestine, well, again, as I said, scholars differ. And usually, whenever there is a case pertaining to certain people, those people are more knowledgeable in that situation, so they should be the ones who are giving the fatwa.
What case you're allowed to kill someone? For instance, in Palestine.
Yeah.
Under what circumstances can they
Well, they have been doing that. Hamas has been doing that for
Suicide bombing, are you saying?
sometimes.
You know that's allowed?
Yeah, some scholars, like in Saudi, they say it's not allowed. Others said it is allowed. There is fatwas about that. There are fatwas about that, that when you are gaining more benefit than the loss of one person, that based on what happened, the Israelis potentially gave some concessions. Before that, they never did. With all the regimes of the Arab and Muslim world, they didn't do anything. But because of few people who sacrificed their lives, they finally gave some concessions. So they said based on that, so it's not always prohibited. But when we say it is, you are not allowed under any case to commit suicide, then this becomes an example where it is an exception from the ruling, the general ruling, that necessities permit prohibitions. The third maxim: what is permitted for necessity is limited to that necessity. Okay, when we say necessities permit prohibitions, to what extent? First day you needed it, but second day you didn't need it. Still you do it? Oh, come on, I did it yesterday, so why not today? No, it is limited to the necessity. Necessity is over, then what? The ruling changes, goes back. So this maxim is a restriction for the previous maxim. Previous maxim, necessities permit prohibitions. To what extent? As long as the necessity persists. The necessity is gone, the ruling changes, and the prohibition goes back. What is the example for that? Again, you are in the desert or in the jungle and you're about to die. So Islam tells you, instead of dying, you are allowed to eat. You slaughtered this 200 kilograms pig and you ate the first day. You ate the second day. And then, alhamdulillah, you found a way out. People came to your rescue. You're looking at this meat, 180 kilograms of meat. Are you allowed to take it back? Why not? It's a lot of meat. You ate from it, yes, but that was only limited to necessity. Well, what if at the time of necessity, can you eat full? Why not? Actually, in this case, scholars differed. Some of them said you can eat full because you don't know when will be the next meal. Others said, no, you don't eat full. You just eat what keeps you alive. Few bites. Why? Because you are limited to the necessity.
You can store it for the case of necessity when it comes to the necessary.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, if you are in this case on survival, you're not having all your equipment, chances are you might not be able to store it. So this is the meal now. This is the animal. You either eat it full or you eat half of it and the other half will go bad. You cannot eat it anymore. Do you eat it full or you just eat what keeps you alive? That's the case. Scholars differ. But of course, to take and store, to take back with you, no. Another example in our time. A female patient should not be hospitalized, treated by male doctor. generally. We have female doctors for female patients, male doctors for male patients. But if we don't have female doctors, and due to necessity, this is a patient and she needs a surgery and this is an emergency, so is it allowed or not allowed? It is allowed. She needs an operation, surgery in her leg. That means the necessity is restricted to that area. The doctor should not look at anything else beyond that need. Why? What was allowed for necessity does not go beyond that limit. And in our time, many people take that loosely. Just because she is going for operation, she shows her body or the doctor looks at, no. You look only for what you need to do. Why? Because you are allowed to, due to necessity for that area. That's it. You don't go beyond that.
Do you think that males cannot become gynaes anymore?
Males cannot become?
Gynaes, gynecologists.
They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. Because, I mean, we should have enough female doctors for that. You're looking at the most private part of the woman body. Here is an example. A war between Muslims and non-Muslims. And the kuffar shielded themselves with Muslims. So they are attacking you from behind the Muslims. You want to attack them, what will happen? You will kill the Muslims. You stop, you don't attack them, what happens? They keep killing you. What do you do? Are you allowed? No. So you let them kill you.
For example, you were saying they're not allowed to
Yeah, that's 1 for 1. But not 1 for 50, 1 for 100. Of course, the 100, they are more than 1. And not only that, that's war. So if they get all Muslims killed, they will occupy, and then they will enter, and then they will kill women and children. And so what do you do in this case? In general, is a Muslim allowed to kill another Muslim? No, absolutely not. But in that case, it is a necessity. So therefore, scholars permitted that. They said in this case, this is an exception. That's a necessity. We don't fight them, we don't attack them, we just get killed. So if they have 10 Muslims, we target not all of them, we try to target one. If it's enough, that's it. And we don't use overpower. If you can use one bullet, you don't use a missile. Why? Because you could kill another Muslim. Again, the same maxim. You don't go beyond the limit. The limit is to fight the kuffar. You were able to defeat them with casualties of 2 Muslims, that's it. Compare that to what the kuffar do nowadays in our time. When they want to kill suspected terrorists, that's what they call one, how many they kill around him? And then what do they say? Collateral damage. No. Islam says, if you can kill one person, you're not allowed to kill 2. Why? If it's a necessity, it doesn't go beyond the limit. That's the greatness of Islam. So that's the maxim. What was permitted for necessity is what? Does not go beyond the limit. So that's an exception. The next maxim is also similar. What was permitted due to necessity because of a reason is restricted to what? to that reason. Once the reason is gone, what happens? The ruling changes also. Like what? Tayammum. Injury is cause for using tayammum. But you are cured now, you are healed. Can you still use tayammum? You've been doing that for a month. Why not 1 month and 1 day? No. Why? The cause is gone. Are men allowed to wear silk? No. What if they have rash on their body? And the only thing they could wear without affecting their skin is silk. Are they allowed or no? Yes, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, 2 companions were allowed because they had rash on their skin. So, someone wore this dress from silk, and it is that soft, and of course it's expensive. Natural silk, we're talking about natural silk. Artificial, that's a different story. But the natural, it's very expensive. And alhamdulillah, with medication, what happened to the rash? It's gone. But you look at this suit, it's expensive. 3,000 ringgit. Do you still wear it or no? It's expensive. Still, what was allowed for a reason does not go beyond that reason. You needed it at that time, that's it.
Is it limited to only clothes and silk?
No. You are alone here. Outside there was huge rain, you cannot even go to the next block. And suddenly someone knocked on the door. It is 10 o'clock in the night. And she was a pretty woman. She said, please, I don't have any shelter, and I'm afraid if I go outside, some people will kidnap me. So can I stay here during the night? Would you let her stay or no? Is that a case of necessity or no? What do you think? Would you let your husband? What if you were in that situation? You got stuck, you cannot even move. It's heavy rain and it's thunderstorm. And you could get killed. So you ran to immediately to the next available house. You knocked on the door and you entered. So can you stay or no? You stay outside, you risk dengue, kidnapping, being killed by the lightning.
Coming in also is a risk. You don't know the person.
What's the risk?
You don't know the person in the house.
You don't know, but is that less or greater risk than staying outside? You don't know, but generally people here are nice, or, I mean, you're not in a village of hostile people. Mostly are Muslims. So, do you come in or no? So, your husband was the one who was alone. And she knocked on the door and she said, please, I have no place to stay. Bismillah. Next day in the morning, you made the breakfast, you prepared everything, and she said, thank you, but I'm leaving. Why? Now the light and the day is up and the necessity is gone. Do you tell her stay? Can you ask her to stay? But you want her to stay, she's pretty, you cannot. Why? Is the necessity still? No. So in general, Is a man allowed to be alone with a woman? No. But what if that is a case of necessity? Whenever the cause, the reason is gone, the necessity is also gone. So it's not restricted only to clothes. It could be to any cause. Tayammum, sickness.
So, sick blanket is considered also not permitted.
Silk,
Blanket.
yeah, because it covers you. Scholars differed on the wearing and the usage. Usage, generally, I mean, like napkins, even napkins, there is some opinions, but it's mostly allowed if it's a napkin. But like a blanket, it's covering you, or clothes, it shouldn't be allowed. Natural silk, that would be very expensive.
It's expensive, but he's not allowed to use it.
You are allowed to use it. So she uses it, you use part of it. Fifth maxim. Need takes the ruling of necessity. الحاجة تنزل منزلة الضرورة. And this is a great example of the perfection of the religion. That not only a case of life or death, but any difficult case would be also elevated to the case of necessity. Okay, what's the difference between need and necessity? Because the things that we do, or the things that happen around us, either necessity or need or accessory, complementary. So the issue of complementary, that's of no discussion, because it is agreed that this does not change the ruling. But if it is a need, does it take the ruling of accessory, or it takes the ruling of necessity? It takes the ruling of necessity, which shows the greatness of Islam and the flexibility of the religion. Of course, there is a fourth level, luxury, and this is even beyond the reasonable usage. But we're talking here about this level, the need. Like what? What is the case of need? Where it's not going to end your life, but it's going to make it difficult. I'll give you an example. Electricity. Would your life end if there is no electricity? No. Of course, we forgot about that, but weren't there people living all their life without even electricity? So it's not a matter of life or death. But will life be easy without electricity? Will it be easy? It will be very difficult. It will be very difficult. So this is a necessity or need? That's a need. But it takes the ruling of necessity. How? Someone making 2,000 ringgit and paying 2,000 ringgit every month. So, is he poor? Is he a poor man? Why? In the definition of the religion, do you pay zakat to this person? Is he in need? He paid what he made. No more, no less. But there was an electricity bill of 300 ringgit. Can you pay that from the zakah? Is the zakah only for people who don't find food or drink? Based on this maxim, this is a need. It's not something luxurious, something accessory that I'm asking for an upgrade for my new phone. No. So in this case, yes, it is allowed. That's what we mean by the need takes the ruling of the necessity. Someone came to you and asked you to help pay the zakah. Why? I want to buy a car. Car is not a necessity. But he says, I'm transferred to a new job. And that is far. And there is no public transportation. Every month, I will be down 300 ringgit. At the end of the year, more than 3,000 ringgit. So I'm just asking to buy a car because I need it. Does he need a car or no? He needs. So in this case, we say you are allowed. In general, no. There are people who have dire need, necessity, but they are not the only ones. Yes, they are the first ones. But the religion tells us the need takes the ruling of what? Of necessity. That shows the flexibility and the greatness of the religion. You don't have to be in a matter of life and death. Last maxim, necessity does not annul the right of others. You needed to do something. Due to what? Due to necessity. Your car was parked and the road is blocked by the car of your neighbor. From behind, 2 armed men came with a gun and they were shooting at you. You are in the car. You want to go, but there is no way. Why? Who's blocking the way? Your neighbor's car. So what did you do? You pressed all the way on the petrol and you hit the neighbor's car and you ran away. Were you allowed to do that? If you didn't do that, what would happen to you? You will get killed. You did that and you saved your life. Are you allowed to do that?
Yes.
What about the dent that you caused in your neighbor's car?
Claim insurance.
Huh?
Claim insurance.
Do you say, because of my necessity, I'm sorry, but accept the qadr of Allah? He tells you, I parked it where I'm supposed to park. I didn't know you will come and you will be blocked by my car. I was authorized to park my car here. So the ruling says, your necessity does not mean that the right of others is gone. So this is like a condition for the previous maxim. Okay, what you are allowed to do is to prevent harm. But to say that the right of others is gone, that is by itself is causing harm. Let me give you an example. We are on the plane, flying from KL to Penang. And the pilot said there is a huge turbulence. And we have overweight. So we need to reduce the weight of the plane. Otherwise we will all die. Okay, so what do? We will throw some bags. Some bags or the entire plane will fall. Which one is better? Some bags. They threw 1 bag, 2 bags, 3 bags. And then the pilot said that's enough. And you landed safely. And they happened to be your bags. Those 3 bags. You went and you said, well, what about my bags? They said, but we saved your life. Otherwise, everybody would die. What's the ruling here? Can you ask for compensation for your bags? Yes, because the maxim says, necessity does not annul the right of others. Just because you needed to do that, it doesn't mean the right of others is gone. The example scholars mentioned is the boat. They didn't have planes in our time. In our time, we say the same thing with planes.
What do you mean to show someone up?
Okay, what if you are trapped in a mine and you either all die or you choose the weakest one to feed on him? What do you do?
Should I go with this one?
Oldest one? Not the weakest one? You know, this happened in Chile a few years ago. Of course, they didn't have to eat anyone, but they thought about that. Is this allowed? You eat one. No? I'm asking you, you said yes.
Yeah. For survival, then.
For survival, you eat one. Of course, how you eat? You eat alive? Okay, you ate him. And then, still, no help came. Take another one, good. And it happened to be you. And now you say, no, 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 stop. This is not allowed. Why? Because here you don't know whether you will survive or not. But in case of a ship or a plane where the outcome is most likely known, that you sacrifice one and the rest will be saved, then yes. Yes, that's a different story. And actually it was mentioned in the Quran. Yunus alayhi salam, this happened to him. The boat was overweight. So they had to throw one. And they picked one randomly, and it was Yunus alayhi salam. But not your example. Why? Because your example, when you choose someone to kill and eat, and you don't know the outcome, you could eat him and still he will not survive. So this life was gone in vain. No. Okay? You rented jet ski for 1 hour. You don't have watch, so they told you they will fly the flag. Red flag means the time is up. And you went far and far away. And then you realized that maybe it is time. And you looked from far away that they have been. So you said, okay, because it will take me time to come back and they will charge me. So you left the boat and you jumped. So you won't be overcharged. Why? Because you don't want to be overcharged. No, you have to come back, and that amount you have to pay. Why? Because it was your responsibility to come on time. An animal attacked you, and you defended yourself. You acted on self-defense. The animal was killed. Do you pay anything for the owner of the animal? It was your neighbor's pet. Do you pay anything? The neighbor came crying, said, I paid a lot of money on this animal. And you say, well, all what you needed to do to keep it in leash. Where is the leash? I didn't want to do anything wrong, but your animal attacked me. What's the ruling? He sued you because of killing. He said you could have defended yourself without killing the animal. So you have to prove that the only way to defend yourself is to kill the animal. Well, let's not say killing, attack animal. You have a farm and you woke up in the morning and all the harvest is destroyed. Why? 2 cows from your neighbor's farm came and they walked all over your fruits and vegetables. Is your neighbor liable or no? Why? The animals did that. And he kept them inside. It is the responsibility of the owner of the animal to keep them. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, this happened. And he ruled, during the day, you are the owner of the farm, so you should protect your farm. During the night, the owner of the animals should look after his herd, his cattle. So if it happened during the night, he will be responsible. But if it happened during the day, it is your responsibility. Again, we go back to the maxim. The need or the necessity of you to do something does not annul the right of the others. If there is transgression, yes, you wanted only to stop the transgression. But you just happened to be there and you didn't want that, you didn't cause that. No, your right is protected. That's it. Any questions?